comas, but I can't have you looking at me in your food coma, okay? I'm just gonna start thinking about food, okay? I had the best time ever, but I wanted really quick to honor our pastors, and I know we keep honoring them. That's because they're literally amazing, and we want you to know, even though they're not physically here, they're spiritually here because they've been praying this place into existence, and they've been praying all of us here and praying that our walls would fall down. And something that I love, two things I love about them. Number one, they're the same person on the stage as they are off the stage. So when they preach with passion and conviction and just authority, like that's who they are when they're one-on-one with
Lexi.
you. It's really awesome. And then the second thing I love, I've heard them say before that they're committed to raising up leaders that are even better than them. And I was like, I heard them say that and I was like, wow, yeah. Like we should all have that mission, but I've never really heard a leader say that before, that they're committed to raising up people to be better than them. And so I just want you to know that those are our pastors. That literally, that's why I'm here. Literally, the whole reason that I get to be here at all in general and up here especially is because they have taught me everything I know, and they want me to be a better speaker. They want me to be a better servant, a better future wife, and all of that than they are. And so, isn't that awesome? Can we give it up for our pastors? They love you so much. Well, my name is Lexi, and I have the honor of being one of the campus pastors here, along with Daniel Poku. He sends his love. He's on vacation right now, and I was mad at him because he was going to split this preaching with me, and now I have to do the whole thing. So, you've got me the whole time. But if you haven't heard already or noticed, I'm from East Texas, and I used to be super ashamed of my accent. I remember I had the biggest epiphany ever whenever I was in middle school. Okay, my life has been changed and redeemed since middle school. I remember whenever I realized that the number after 9 is not 10, it's 10, and it changed my life. I remember literally in middle school realizing that, and it was like a real thing. And I went and told my little sister, I was like, what's after 9? She's like, 10. And I'm like, no, it's 10. 10 is a medal. But I finally decided I have to just love it, and so I hope you are fine with it. And it's even thicker today because I was with my family all week, and so they just pull it out of me. So I hope you're okay with that. But we were all, it was me and 7 of my family members, or 6 of my family members. This past week, we are from Texarkana. I'm from the Texas side, so I am a true Texan, but I'm as close to the Arkansas border as you can get. We all went to California to visit some family. So it was super fun, but a lot of us don't really travel, okay? I've traveled a couple of times, so I have a little, experience under my belt, but my family does not travel a lot at all. So it was an experience, to say the least. Just a couple of examples. On our way there, on the flight, my mom, we had made some muffins, okay, because that's what you do. You make some muffins and you bring them on the plane. You ain't got the cookies or anything. You need your muffins. So they had muffins, and so I was leaning back to my mom in the back, and I was like, Mom, can you give me the muffins? It's super, quiet in there. I'm like, Mom, pass me the muffins. And she literally, I'm not even exaggerating, she's like, what? And I was like, Mom, no, shh, I need the muffins. And she's like, muffins? Who brought muffins? I want some muffins. And I was like, Mom, you're being so loud. And she was like, what do you mean? I can't even hear myself. So I don't know, her ears weren't acclimated to it, and so it was super loud. And then my sister, by the end of the flight, you guys, I look over at her. And she has hot tears streaming down her face. She has mascara streaming down her face, and she literally was going, oh my gosh. And I was like, what is happening with you? And she was like, I can't hear anything. I don't know what's going on. My head hurts, and I felt so bad for her, but we were all stressed out, okay? We were all super, super stressed out. And so, on the way there, we had to even find our way from LAX airport to Long Beach, and then we ended up getting dropped off in downtown, and it's late at night, and all these people are coming and asking us if we want cake, and we're like, no, we don't want your cake, and all these crazy things. So I was just stressed, okay, and I found myself to probably be the most not honoring person that I should be during this trip, and so I was praying, and I was like, God, I'm supposed to preach this Sunday. How am I going to be this kind of person this week and go and preach? And I'm literally so annoyed with everything happening. No one knows how to travel. Everyone stands in the middle of the sidewalk when everyone else is trying to pass by, and it annoys me so much.
So true.
And I was like, God, what am I to do about this? I'm so sorry. And also, I'm recording this for my family, so I'm sorry. I am so sorry about my attitude. But I woke up one morning and I was like, God, what in the world? Why am I acting like this and I'm being crazy? Like, I can't be someone different than who I am. And he told me that he's bringing me through my sermon. And that's something that our pastors do. Is another thing that they're so awesome is, like, for example, Pastor Onika just spoke on going into the deep at Cultivate. How many of y'all were at Cultivate? Woo! It was awesome. She was explaining to us, she was like, I have to go through the deep first. Yeah. I have to go into the deep, and I have to look around, and I have to look for myself what it means to go into the deep before I can tell everyone else what it means to go into the deep. And it's hard. It's super hard because usually there's pain involved in that process. And so he's like, Lexi, I'm bringing you through it so that you can preach from experience on it. And so that's kind of what the sermon is on today. It's basically talking about how your lack, what you feel like you're not good enough in, or what you feel like you're weak in, he actually chooses to use you in that area 99% of the time. So it's crazy. It is crazy. But we're going to be talking about the story of Jesus feeding the 5,000. So the title of the sermon is Loaves and Fishes, if you're taking notes. Loaves and Fishes. So this story is one of the most famous miracles that Jesus ever performed, because it's next to Jesus's resurrection and death. It's the only miracle that's in all 4 Gospels. So it's super, super, super important. It's in Luke chapter 9. So if you want to go ahead and turn there, Luke chapter 9 is the one we're going to look at today. But to summarize it for you really quick, at the beginning, the disciples are essentially, they get sent out. And Jesus tells them, hey, you're going to go heal all these people. You're going to go proclaim the gospel. You're going to do all this stuff. It's going to be awesome. And they're like, okay, let's do it. So they go and they proclaim the gospel. They heal all these people. It's exciting. It's awesome. And so they get home afterwards to Jesus. And they're like, Jesus, we did all these things. We told you. We healed all these people. I picture like a kid with an A+ on their test. And they're on their way home. And they're like, oh, I can't wait to tell my mom because she's going to cook me my favorite spaghetti and all this awesome stuff. So that's whatever I pictured. And so the disciples are super excited. They tell Jesus. You would think that Jesus would cook them their favorite spaghetti and, give them all the things like we would do for our kids and celebrate them. And he probably did do that, but it doesn't say that he did that. What he actually did was he removed them into what the Bible says is a desolate place. So he brings them, and this version says a remote place. That means there's nothing there. There's no food there. There's no stores there. There's no houses there. Nothing is there. Yeah. And so this first made me think and realize in my life, I remember times that I have been in a really high season where it's like I was doing all these awesome things. I got the job, or this and this happened, and I was serving the Lord, and I was doing all this, and I was like, God, you should be so proud of me. I'm doing so great. It's the best season ever. Yeah. And then boom, you hit a desolate season right after that, and it's so confusing. It's like, why is this happening? I was literally just being the best person that I possibly could be, and then you bring me here? Like, why are you bringing me here? And so this is going to give a little bit of context onto why sometimes that happens. Well, a lot of times it happens. And so we can learn from the disciples in this. That's right. So Luke chapter 9, and we're going to go to verse 12. Oh, really quick. The crowd, there's a crowd of 10,000 plus people that had followed them to the desolate place because, they want Jesus and they want the miracles and all things. So they followed them and Jesus to this place. And so this is what the disciples say after the crowd is there. Verse 12, it says, late in the afternoon, the 12 came to him and said, send the crowd away so they can go to the surrounding villages and countryside and find food and lodging, because we're in a remote place here, or a desolate place. Jesus replied, you give them something to eat. They answered, we have only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Unless we go and buy food for all this crowd. About 5,000 men were there, which is just men. It doesn't count the women and the children. So at least 10,000 people. But he said to his disciples, have them sit down in groups of about 50 each. The disciples did so, and everyone sat down. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke them. Then he gave them to the disciples to distribute to the people. They all ate and were satisfied. Crazy. And the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. Crazy madness that just happened, okay? So the first thing that I thought of whenever I was reading this, and is really refreshing for all of us to remind ourselves of, is that Jesus is actually concerned about your well-being.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you feel about Jesus, because sometimes I've been in a season where I don't feel like he's concerned with me at all. I'm kind of like, well, if you've experienced what the disciples are experiencing and you go to a desolate place, you're like, God, how are you concerned with me whenever you brought me here? Yeah. Or you feel like you're there and you're like, God, I don't feel you at all. And whenever I go to church now, I don't actually feel the tingly feeling anymore whenever I'm raising my hands and singing to you. I don't get it. You're not with me. But Jesus does not send the people away. This is what I want you to notice. The disciples wanted the people gone. They're like, hey, you need to send them away. They need something. But Jesus, he's the provider of everything. And what it tells me is that Jesus is concerned about you, and he will never send you away.
Wow.
He'll never send you away.
That's
I don't know what your experience is, because sometimes we'll reflect our how people have treated us and how they have left us in a time of need. Maybe your spouse has left you in a time of need, or maybe your siblings or your parents or a friend has left you in a time of need, and we reflect that onto Jesus. We say, oh, well, Jesus isn't going to stay with me in a time of need either. But it's never true. The world will sometimes do that because they don't know any better, but Jesus is so concerned about you that he would never, ever turn from you in a time of need for him. And so this is something that I just feel like we all have to realize and learn about Jesus. And then really quick too, Shoreline is the same way, okay? Shoreline isn't perfect by any means, but we're so passionate about just being as much like Jesus as we possibly can be. And Jesus doesn't shame you. He doesn't throw stones. He throws lifelines.
Yes.
So we throw lifelines and not stones.
Yes.
So all that to say, if you have a prayer request and you're too ashamed to come up here and ask for prayer at the end because you're like, man, I don't want to tell people I'm going through this or whatever, don't do that. We throw lifelines, not stones. We're going to link arms with you and not shame you.
Awesome.
And so if you're afraid to even open up in your Connect group or with a friend or anything like that, please come, and please open up, because we will not send you away. Okay, I want us to look at verse 13 really quick. Again, verse 13. It says, he replied, you give them something to eat. And they answered, we only have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, unless we go and buy food for all of this crowd. Okay, so the disciples say 2 words that stick out to me, only and unless. And they make it very clear, like Jesus doesn't know, that we only have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And I got super convicted, because I remember so many times that I've said to God, I'm only 22. I'm only 22. How am I going to preach? I'm only a single girl. How am I going to do that? How am I going to pour into that person? Or maybe it's like I only have my bachelor's degree, so how am I going to launch that business? Or I've only been married, a couple of months. How am I going to pour into someone else's marriage? Or whatever your only is, God was showing me that you need to take that out of your vocabulary.
Man.
So take only and unless out of your vocabulary. And the unless part is the funny part to me. We try, I don't know if y'all can resonate with this, but we try so hard to bargain with God. We try to bargain with him so much. I didn't realize until I read this. I was like, wow, I feel like I do this all the this is what I've said to him before, I'll only go into ministry, or I'm only a single girl. How am I going to go into ministry? Unless, and I think you know where I'm going with this, unless you give me a husband, then I can go into ministry and we'll do it together. And we just say, unless you do this, God, I'm not going to do that. Wow. Or it's like, I only have so much money, God. How am I going to tithe? Unless you give me a promotion at work, or maybe you cut down my rent or something like that, and then I'll be saving a little bit and then I can give. We try and bargain with him so often. So if there's anything in your mind that you can think of right now that you're bargaining with God on, maybe it's even serving. You're like, oh, God, I only have so much time. How am I going to serve? Unless, you give me more time in my day or whatever. But he's like, no, I want the only.
Wow.
I want the only.
So good.
I need that, because 99% of the time, your only is actually where he wants to use you. Yeah. It's usually what he actually wants. And so he's so supernatural. So we have to stop thinking naturally and have to start thinking supernaturally.
Right.
And really quick side note, I think we should actually believe that this story happened, because sometimes I find myself going, oh yeah, did that really happen? Because if that really happened, my mind would be blown right now, right? We would be like, wow, that really happened. Let's talk about that, you know? So let's challenge ourselves to actually believe that these words are true and it's really happened. And if we believe that, and the same power that rose Jesus Christ from the dead lives in us, then what can we do? What can we do with our only? So take only and unless out of your vocabulary. Are y'all going to do that? I can see you if you're going to say yes or no.
Yeah.
If it's no, we'll talk after. You can let me know, okay? Okay, so next point. Really quick, I want to talk about Victoria. Victoria Wynn and John Wynn, who just shared their story briefly up there. They are the most incredible couple. Okay, I've never even met with them, like one-on-one. I have never really sat down with them and really heard their story one-on-one, but I've heard it from my friends, and I talked to her on the phone last night, and they're the most incredible people ever, and you would never, I didn't even know that John had cancer. I didn't even know that. I was like, he doesn't wear that at all. He doesn't. It's just incredible. They serve so hard. They've been through this valley season, but yet they're back serving, and they're literally speaking and preaching about all that God has done in their life. Yeah. But Victoria, whenever they decided to have a baby, they decided that they're going to do this. We want to have a baby. I think she was planned. I don't think she was an accident. They're like, I'm signing up for it. I know my body's going to get big. She knew her belly was going to get big. She knew she was going to get stretch marks. I don't think I'm mentally prepared for that. I don't know, a lot of us probably aren't. So you have to prepare yourself for that. You know it's coming, right? You have to be willing for that to happen, and you have to be willing for the recovery, right? You know that afterwards, you don't know what's going to happen. She didn't know. She didn't sign up saying, like, I want my pelvic bone to be broken or fractured. I don't want that. But she knew that it was a risk. Yeah. She knew that it could happen. But it was worth it. Because she wanted to multiply. She wanted to get her baby. She wanted to get her miracle. Right? And it convicted me, and it resonated with me in this story. And it made me think, are you willing to be broken in order to be multiplied?
Wow.
Because that's really the only time that multiplication happens. Is whenever you're broken. Yeah. It's just like having a baby. Your body literally has to be broken.
Man. Wow.
And so are you willing to do that? Are you willing to go through the pain? Are you willing to be broken in order to be multiplied? And so if you read that again in verse 16, it says, taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, Jesus gave thanks and broke them. Yeah. Then he gave them to the disciples to distribute to the people. He broke them. And so he had to break it in order to multiply it. Yeah. He had to. Okay, little heaven to earth plug. Okay, we talk about it a lot because it will change your life, and not only your life, but so many others' lives. I was thinking about this, and I gave my heaven to earth offering, and I was thinking about what we're going to do with it. So we're planting a couple of campuses. Like, how amazing is that? We're planting a campus in Guatemala City. And things are happening all over the world that we get to be a part of, right? And then we're going to renovate our building at our White Rock location for our youth students. And then I thought to myself, I remember whenever I was a youth, and I believe that one of the reasons that I get to be here right now at this age is because at a youth, they allowed me to preach. They made room for me. I had a huge youth group back home in Texarkana, and they were so excited about bringing me in and so excited about pushing me forward that I know I'm able to do everything else. That was my springboard to get my calling. And so I was like, man, I get to do that for so many other kids. My money gets to be a part of something so much bigger than myself. Because how many of them knew who gave to that building being built? It was called Powerhouse. How many people realized in their head that there was going to be a Lexi that would go into that building, that her life would be changed forever? And when I tell you my life was completely changed, like I had a 180 in one day. And I know some people's stories are different, but mine, I saw some people that loved Jesus, and I was like, man, I don't feel loved. How are you so excited about being loved? Like, I don't understand that. I don't feel that. I want that. And they were so happy. They were so in love with Jesus, and I'd never heard people talk like that about Jesus. And so I said, I want in on this. I want in on this. And my life has been radically changed because of it. And so if my money, even if it's $5, if it gets to go to that building, that there's going to be another Lexi there, that she's going to realize her purpose. She's going to realize that she's not broken. She's going to realize that she can do things she didn't even know she could do. Then, wow, why would I not give to that? Yeah. And so I was also thinking about it. It's going to go in so many different areas. It's going to go to the youth building. It's going to go to the campuses. It's going to go to kids in Guatemala and Kenya. And so my money's literally being broken. It is being broken up and spread out. So whenever you give, it's going to be broken up and spread out, right? And it's going to go to things and feed people that you didn't even know that you could feed. That money that you could have used to buy you a meal or to pay your rent or whatever it is, it's only going to do it one time. It's not going to be an everlasting difference. But whenever you give in the heaven to earth offering, it's actually going to make an everlasting difference in people's lives.
Lexi.
Because whatever's broken is multiplied. So are you willing to be broken in order to be multiplied? Are you willing to sacrifice it up for a moment so that you can have an Ava down the road and have that blessing and that multiplication? Because Ava's going to grow up and raise up more leaders over and over and over again, because that's what we get to be a part of. That's what we get to be a part of. That's what our breaking gets to be a part of. And so I don't know what your other thing is. Maybe it's not even the offering. You're like, I got that, whatever. That's easy for me. Maybe it's your marriage. Maybe it's like, man, I feel that I've had this only mindset. Like, I only have this terrible marriage and I don't feel like it can be better. So how are you going to break that up? Well, you go to Jesus. You say, God, I only have this much. And you can say it to him and be real, but be ready to change. I only have this much to give. I only have, what I know, and I don't know anything. And if you say to him, but I'm willing to give it to you. I'm willing to give you one date night a week. I'm willing to give you everything that I have. I'm willing to give it all to you because I know it's going to feel broken in a minute, because it's not fun to be the good guy in a situation when you know that they're wrong. That's not fun. That's going to feel like you're breaking. That's going to feel like, God, are you really here? Because I'm listening to you and I'm trying to do it, but it's not working. That's what it can feel like for you in that situation. Or if you're trying to plant a business and you're thinking, I have nothing to give for this. I have nothing to give. Like, I only have this money, this $100 per month to put aside to launch it. Well, do it. Break it. Give it up, and he will multiply it. But the cool thing is it doesn't only multiply to feed thousands, like thousands. It actually multiplies to feed yourself too. So if you look at verse 17, if you go back, verse 17, it says, they all ate and were satisfied, the 10,000 plus people. And the disciples picked up 12. How many basketfuls? 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. How many disciples are there? 12. They literally had half the amount. They had 5 loaves and 2 fish. That feeds probably about a small family, maybe 6 people, maybe. So that's half of the disciples that they were able to give. Yeah. It wasn't even going to feed all of them. But when they decided to give it over, to be broken, to break it up, and give it to God and say yes to giving up their weakness and say yes to planting it, they actually fed 10,000 plus people, and then they each walked away with their own basket full.
That's so good, Lexi.
And so what is it today that you want your basket to be full of?
Yeah.
What do you need today that your basket, you want to walk away because you came in here feeling not so good after Thanksgiving and with your family, and you're just sad about the situation going on. You're sad about what's going on. You've given up with it. What's that situation? What is it? Do you have half the amount of energy to pour into that? And then he's saying, hey, you will pour into that. Not only will you impact your family, you'll actually impact yourself, and you'll walk away with your basket full. Because sometimes I feel like we think that we're going to get the short end of the stick, but God always fills us up in the end. Yeah. He always fills us up in the end. And so I really feel that God wants to challenge us, or maybe you don't even feel like you came in empty in any way. I heard Chris Hodges say one time in his sermon that, and I believe Chris Hodges, if you want to look it up, you can totally look it up, but I believe him. He said that the word dreams and health are almost exactly the same word in the Old Testament in Hebrew. It's almost the exact same word. So whenever translators try and translate the words, they have a hard time deciding if it's the word health or the word dreams. And so his point with that was that if you're not dreaming, you're not healthy. If you're not dreaming, you're not healthy. How many of you, well, you don't have to raise your hand, but think to yourself, how many of you could tell me right now what your next dream is? Could you? Could you really?
Good point.
Like, I ask people all the time, what are you dreaming for? What are you dreaming for? What are you dreaming for? Half of the people probably can tell me what their dream is. And a lot of them, they're because, oh, girl, you're young. You've got your world ahead of you. You can dream all you want. No, that's not. If you're breathing, you're still being used. If you're breathing, God still wants to show up. If you're breathing, He still has miracles for you, because that's the kind of God that we serve. Is a kind of God who wants to give us more than our dreams. Because how the disciples now are lived on as someone who sacrificed this little amount to feed 10,000 plus people. So I want you to start dreaming and asking God how He's going to use your lack in order for Him to multiply it and feed thousands. Because it's not just for me. It's not just for our pastors. It's not just for your idol who you love and who's impacted you in your life. It's for you, and for you to dream, and for you to be used, and for you to multiply so that you can feed thousands. So I want you to think about your dream. Okay? Are you with me?
Yeah.
I want you to think about your dream. Y'all in the back, I want you to think about your dream. And I want you to ask God for it. I want you to ask Him for it, but you have to be willing to be broken.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to be broken in order to be multiplied. Do y'all want to do that? Yeah. God really, I just feel like I have such an honor today, because I get to be His voice right now. And the people in the lobby get to be His voice when they're talking to you. And I think His voice is saying to stop just looking at your only and your unless and bargaining with Him, and start laying it down and asking Him for what's next for your life. Because I'm a walking testimony of how you will do things that you never thought that you could do. Like, if you are not in a job or a marriage or a relationship or anything like that, that you are blown away that you get to do it, then you're not done. You are not done. Yeah. Like, I'm blown away that I get to do this. I could give you a list of 50 reasons why I shouldn't be up here. Oh, it's so many. You could probably name some yourself. Like, so many reasons. But yet, I'm like, God, how do I get to do this? Wow. And, it's just as much an honor to preach in Biggs or to be standing at a door. But what is it that God wants to blow your mind with, that He wants you to do? Like, ask yourself that. And I want you to pray for that when we're worshiping in just a moment. With every head bowed and eye closed, at the end of the day, this is about one thing. This is about salvation. This is about Jesus and how much He loves you. And if you would say that you're the boss of your life, you're the one who, you would say you're the number one person, you're in the driver's seat of your life, and Christ isn't. If that's you today and you want to make Him in the driver's seat of your life, you want to put Him as number one, because He's the one that's actually going to lead you to your dreams. He's the one that's actually going to lead you to your destiny. He's going to lead you to He's going to be the one to lead you to your future and your purpose, and be the answer to every question you have. And so if you want to make Him number one in your life, if you want to give Him your heart and make Him, I'm not asking you if you've been baptized, I'm not asking you if you've been confirmed as a child or anything like that. I'm asking you if you've never made Jesus first in your life, or maybe at one point you did, but you slipped away and you want to get back on track. If you want to do that today, I'm going to ask you to do something simple, but something incredibly bold. I'm going to ask you to raise your hand on the count of 3. And you're saying to God, I want you to be number one in my life. 1, 2, 3. If that's you today and you want to make Jesus first in your life, raise your hand. Let Him know. You're saying, I don't want to go my own way anymore. I want to go His way. I don't want to be the number one in my life. I want Him to be number one in my life. Amazing, amazing. All right, you can put your hands down. I want everyone in here to put their hand over their heart and repeat this prayer after me. Say, Dear Jesus, I ask you to forgive me of all my sins. I admit I've made mistakes. And today, I give you my heart. I give you my life. Give me the power to live for you. In Jesus' name, amen and amen. Everyone lift their head